Well, hello. I'm George Kaler, teawithgeorge.com, and today's session of Get Real is with my good friend Rodney Whittler. And last week's uh, podcast was with Renee Marsh. And Renee, as you recall, had to overcome some real struggles when her husband got frontotemporal dementia. It's the same disease that Bruce Willis has, and how she struggled through that. If you haven't seen it, go back to my YouTube channel and watch Renee, and she's a fabulous singer. I assure you, you'll just love her. And today with Rodney Whittler, I want to talk to him. He's one of my favorite young men. I met him about 6, 7 months ago when I was selling some stuff, giving away stuff, and with him it was giving away stuff. We moved from a 6,000 square foot house down to a 2,000 square foot house to better suit a couple in their 80s. And I asked, okay, who can take cases and cases of books? And Rodney answered, and he said, yeah, I can take them. And then later on, I asked him if here he lives only about a couple of blocks from me now, and I asked him if he could help me renovate some things in the house that we've bought. And he just is a quick learner. I grew to love this kid, and I think you're going to love him too. He has such an interesting story. And our sponsor today is, well, it's me, Kaler Wealth Management. We manage about $250 million here. If you have a financial decision to make and you don't want to mess it up, well, we do Social Security planning, wealth planning, budgeting, retirement. If you have some really important item coming up, get professional help. Us. We're at 434-851-3483. Rodney, I met you, as I said, about 6, 7 months ago, and you've been helping me on my house, and I've been finding out a little bit about you every time we visit. And every time I learn something new, I like it. So first of all, how old are you?
33, I'll be 34 in July.
Ooh, we'll celebrate then, and
Sounds good.
and maybe have some cake and ice cream at our house.
Sounds good.
And where were you raised?
Right here in Lynchburg, born and raised right here in Lynchburg.
Oh, okay. Tell me a little bit about well, we're going to talk a lot about your childhood because it wasn't very long ago. You're only
No,
33 years old. Um, how did you come into this world? What were the circumstances in the family as you came into this world?
of course. Unfortunately, in my community and my people, there's a lot of single parents, whether it's single dad, single mom. I looked up and got the single mom situation, and my dad was in the picture, but he was in and out of jail, unfortunately, and sorry, it's still hard to think about, Unfortunately, he passed away when I was 12, but it was a blessing in disguise because it made me an adult before I needed to, but it also helped me in life to not look at things from a child perspective. I grew up really fast, so I had to figure out, okay, mom needs me to do this when I get home. I need to do that. I know how to do these things. I had to learn how to pay the bills. If she's at work, she'll tell me, hey, Rodney, come home, do your schoolwork, and I want you to write the checks for the bills this month. And that was fun, but growing up, and I kind of want to go into the angle of being Black in my own community. And what that means is there's different shades of Black. You have your dark Black, you have your medium brown, you have my complexion, the light skinned. And I was always too light to hang around my people. I don't know how we got into this, but I was just always too light. And then also I was too dark to hang around the white kids, but I was blessed to be able to hang around the white kids, and I learned a lot. I was that Boy Scout kid and kind of liked it for a little while, but ended up picking up a basketball, go figure. But childhood, that's pretty much my childhood. I used basketball to mask the death of my father. My mom, she's not the typical Black woman that America wants her to be. She wasn't on drugs. She went to work every day. She made sure we had food on the table. She made sure the bills were paid. She made sure I had what I needed. The unfortunate part is we missed a lot of time together, so now we get the chance to make that up.
I met your mom,
Yes.
and I spent some time with her. She's like an angel that walks around in the body of a beautiful woman,
Thank you.
and she's so young. She could be my daughter. Well, you could be my grandson easily. And most of the most of the young men your age that I've met with your circumstances of growing up, they're angry, 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 angry. And on the other hand, you see like Black Lives Matter burning and rioting and just unbelievable
Mhm.
anger. You, on the other hand, I don't know if I know a happier person. Why aren't you angry?
I don't have no reason to be angry. Just because my circumstances say I should be angry. If I would have took that approach, I'd probably be either locked up or dead. So I had to find another way out, and my outlet was do the complete opposite of what some people in America expect me to be. And once I figured that aspect out in life, that's when I started seeing a lot of success in my life. A lot of doors open that typically wouldn't have opened if I would have took that angry black male approach. And no, I didn't have a father, but I had a mother who stepped up to the plate, thanks to God, by giving her the resources and showing me how I need to maneuver, how I need to walk, how I need to talk. She would always say, excuse me, make sure your pants are pulled up. Okay, I kind of wanted to look like the image, but now that I'm older, I see that not looking like that is why I'm sitting right here with you now, George. If I'd have took those angry approaches, I wouldn't be doing this interview with you right now. I wouldn't have this opportunity to sit down and tell my story because I'd rather tell my story than somebody else tell my story.
Yeah, I never really understood why young black men, and I've seen older guys too, walking around with their pants down to their knees. I mean, if they're going to do a mugging, they have to be able to get away. And with those,
Exactly.
by the way, it's no holds barred with Roddy and me.
And
And
not no
when
holds
I
barred.
met him, I said, "Well, do you know what I'm going to do?" Yeah, what are you going to do? I said, "I'm going to work you like a rented mule." And so Rodney is a good worker, but he's so much fun to be with.
Thank you.
Um, Rodney, you got your education,
Yes.
but you aren't doing what you were educated for. And it's becoming, after meeting you, I started looking into this
hmm
um, as to why people get an education of one thing and they end up doing something else altogether. What were you educated to be?
My degree is in sociology. I love people. I love studying behaviors. But once I graduated and looked at that student loan debt of $50,000, I said, okay, is my degree really going to pay itself off? So I looked into the whole social services field, did the internships, did the ride alongs, and one random day out there in the field, I realized I can't take a child from its family, from his or her family, I'm sorry. And that was the day I had to realize, okay, how can I pay these student loans off? Because clearly I don't want to be in this field now that I'm into it. And that's how I discovered the entrepreneurial approach.
Entrepreneur.
Mhm.
I ran across that when a client of mine, his dad passed away and left him a violin, a Stradivarius
Yes.
counterfeit from Germany.
Mhm.
But they're extraordinarily well made, and they're made in the image of the old Stradivarius violins. And I gave it to you. I said, "Can you sell it?" And you sold it for over, I think, twice as much as I could have gotten here in Lynchburg. And my client was very happy about that.
Yes, sir.
So, is that your job then? Do you collect stuff from people and sell it for them and get a better price? What is it exactly you do? Because you do it well.
I appreciate that. Yes, that's exactly what I do. That's e-commerce. You buy low, or you find someone who wants to sell their product because they don't want to donate. A lot of people don't want to donate it to Goodwill and all these other organizations, and nothing against them, but they just feel that if they're going to make money off of their product, they should be making the money themselves. So that's what I do. My client base started with you, George. Like you said, you gave me the violin. I don't know if you were testing me to see if I really do
No,
what I could do.
I didn't care. I mean, my client said, tell him to do his best. And that's what I told you. Just do your best. I really
Mhm.
didn't expect the kind of result I got. Um, so recently, a lady gave you a consignment of how many thousand items?
Oh man, that client has over 12,000 collectibles, and I think I'm up to like 600 listed, so I got a long way to go.
You've got some jobs secure. Have you sold any of them yet?
Oh yeah, thing she's selling about 20 or 30 items a day, so it's very successful for the both of us. Yes, sir.
Are you in the fulfillment service as well as in the selling business, or do you have somebody else who fulfills the orders?
I am completely hands-on with every aspect of my business. I'm kind of still in that phase of it's my baby and I'm scared to let anybody else touch it. So I go to the client's house, I appraise the items, I take my photos I need because I like my aesthetic. Everybody's like, "Hey, can I send you the photos?" And if you really don't want me at your house, I understand. That's what it is. But I like to have my own aesthetic with my pictures because my system works. Obviously, if it didn't work, people wouldn't trust me to sell their items. I list the items, I do the research on the products, and once we determine what figure we're going to go with, I list it. And once it sells, I also go to the customer's home, pick up the item, I package it, and I ship it. So I'm very hands on with my baby. Yes.
I don't know how you do it all. I know I impose on you every Saturday to help me with that awful house I bought. What actually is coming together now. It looks
We're
pretty
getting
good.
there. Yes.
We put Rodney and I put some African animals on the wall,
Ooh.
and they're huge animals, and we put them on the wall. I have missions and medical missions in Africa, so I hunt some down there, and the people depend on that. The locals depend on that because if the professional hunter doesn't bring a tourist hunter in there, the local villages don't have any money. That's how they make their money. So I have these what we call trophies, and they're just huge. Well, Rodney and I got those on the wall. He helped me get a huge German chandelier onto the ceiling. I was a little bit worried about that because if we had dropped that, we'd have dropped thousands of dollars. So,
Not good.
yeah, we have that up there too. I wanted to ask you something that affects me very, very deeply, and I think it has you too.
Okay.
I might be dead. I was a touring rock and roll musician, and I retired in 1972. Of the seven of us that started together, five of us were dead. And I knew if I didn't get out of that business, I was going to end up dead. And so I retired, went back to school. I had a degree in education, and I taught school for a little while and didn't get paid enough to do that, sort of like you. And I took off with rock and roll bands and did that for 7 years.
Nice.
And then I ran into a guy who introduced me to someone that doesn't even walk the earth as a man now. His
Mm.
name is Jesus Christ.
Amen.
And he just changed me around. The way I came to him kind of kicking and screaming.
Mhm.
I didn't intend to come to him at all. And but he sought me, he bought me with his redeeming blood as the hymn goes. I know that you had at a younger age kind of the same experience. How did you come to know Christ? Who invited you? What happened?
So basically, up until I found Christ, I was living my life the way I wanted to, and I saw a lot of success. I've had great 9 to 5 jobs. Like I said, I went to college. I made it in America, but it comes to a point where the alcohol, the drugs, the money, the women, it gets to a point where it leaves you in a dark hole. Like you just keep going into a deep abyss and all of a sudden you lose everything. And once you start losing one part of the trend, it domino effect. So if you lose the money, there goes the fun, there goes the women, there goes the excitement. And one day I was looking for a friend. I needed something and I couldn't go to nobody. Like it's like, where's everybody at that was here 2 days ago? And now that the bank account says zero, what do I do? And I ended up moving back to Lynchburg last June and I hated it. Honest truth, I hated being here. I was in a depressed state of mind for like 4 months. I would go get food, go back home, get into bed. I picked up about 40 pounds, which I've never been over 200 pounds. I finally saw 215 and it's like, oh, wow, Rodney, what are you doing with your life here? And my mom was like, hey, I know you're depressed. I know you're going through a lot mentally. Then my physical health started messing up on me a little bit. And she was like, we need to go back to church. And I was like, I can't argue that. I haven't talked to God in probably 10 years at this point. And I said, I agree. We went to a couple services, maybe about 2 or 3 weeks worth of services. And one night, our pastor was preaching on once you walk through the door of the church, you leave your past where it's at. And that was one thing that scared me from going back to Christ was I've done pretty much a lot of the 10 commandments, unfortunately. It's like, he's not going to accept me back. Why would he want me? And about 10 minutes into my pastor's sermon, I completely just muted the service. And it wasn't on purpose or anything. He wasn't boring, but it was like God started talking to me. He was like, as soon as Pastor Ray says, he does the altar call, he was like, get up out that seat, get your behind to that altar and give it all back to me. And I kept battling with God for about 30 minutes, like, God, you don't want me. I'm a sinner. Why do you want me? And as soon as the altar call came, I looked at my mom and I said, it's time. I got to give it back to God because if I don't know what the outcome is going to be. So I went to the altar and I gave it all to him on October 19th, 2022. And yes, sir. And the kicker to it, me asking him, why do you need a center? The kicker is, I stand in the pulpit every other Saturday now. He uses me for his purpose and plan was for me to get in that pulpit and tell the world what he wanted to hear, spread his word. So I'm thankful.
Yeah, I've heard you in the pulpit. I didn't especially enjoy your church music. I'm an old Presbyterian, so we have the old hymns and organs and violins and all the kind. You got drums and bass and rock and roll.
It's like a
The
concert.
it is actually it's the stuff I'm used to playing, but not the use of the stuff I'm used to singing in church. So, hey, give us a little advertisement for your church. Where do you go to church? Where were you saved?
Tree of Life Ministries right here in Lynchburg. Um, the head pastor is Pastor Mike Dotson, and the co-pastor is Ray Kingery.
I think I heard Ray one night I was
Yes,
there.
the
Yeah,
Saturday you and your wife came. Yes, sir.
yeah, I was looking at him. I wouldn't want to get on his wrong side if he got mad at me. I think he's some sort of he looks like a bodybuilder and a bodyguard.
He's very strong. I think when he hugged me one night, he pulled the devil out of me. So that's how strong he is.
Getting back to your life now,
Mhm.
that you're walking as a Christian, you're walking as a very successful entrepreneur,
Yes, sir.
and people are now seeking you out in your business. By the way, one more advertisement. How can they find you if they want to sell something and they want an expert to do it, get more money for it?
Yes, if you have the Nextdoor app, my name is Rodney Whittler on there. That's Rodney. Last name is Whittler. Also, if you want my phone number, it's area code 804-356-9926. And if you need references, because a lot of people have high-end stuff and they just don't trust somebody just randomly doing it. So if you need references, I would be more than glad to have some of my clients get in touch with you and let you know that I'm legit.
Well, they got me for one thing.
There you go. My first client, George Kaler. Yes.
Anyway, okay, back to Christ. Has life been easy for you then, since you came to Christ? Has He made everything simple and comfy?
I'm gonna be honest. It's probably harder, because for me, it's that whole trying to strive for perfection, and I didn't commit all those sins. I didn't live my life all in one day. You don't automatically just give it all back in one day. So he's working with me daily, and a lot of my demons, addictions, I've overcome them, but it's still that trying to make sure I do everything in his eyes and make sure that I am making him happy versus trying to make the world happy. Once I separated that a little bit, then it started getting a little easier. But no matter what you do, Christ is he's a just God. He's going to give you the good days, but he's also going to give you the bad days because the bad days is what builds that strength and that faith in him. So if you can endure the good days, the bad days I feel like is more important because that's where you see his true power and what he can really do for you. The good days, it's easy to celebrate. It's easy to be hallelujah, amen. But go through something and let God really show you what he can do.
That's where you grow.
Yes.
I noticed, having been a musician for so many years of my life, and I
Mhm.
still am, if you look at a symphony orchestra, and there are the musicians playing for the crowd, but who are they looking at?
Oof.
They're looking at the conductor. They're
Yes.
not looking at the crowd, and they're looking for his direction. And then at the end of the song, do they look to the crowd for their approval? No, they look to the conductor
Yes, they
for
do.
his approval. And I think it's a little living a life as a Christian. We're not to look at the crowd. The crowd's gonna. I've discovered, Rodney, that Christianity is oftentimes that tool used by wicked people to coerce a Christian into doing their bidding. For instance, if you were really a Christian, you would, and fill in the blank. If you were really a Christian, you would not, fill in the blank. And some Christians are just looking at that crowd rather than the conductor himself,
Correct.
you know? And so he's there saying, follow me. I'll treat you right. I'll forgive you when you screw up. I just want you. It's hard for us to accept, isn't it? I just want you.
Yeah, that's the hardest part is believing that because it's like there's billion people on the planet. Why do you want me? But then I realized that God has individually made us in a unique manner. So everything that makes us unique is everything that He wants from us. And that's what fulfills His purpose and plans. And when I started to realize that myself, personally speaking, it started to make it a little bit easier for me. I could start hearing Him once I turned down the distractions. So believe in yourself, but just always remember one thing that I tell people now when I speak to them about ministry or even just about God in general. There's one God, but there's a trillion distractions. If you can get past those distractions, all you got left is God. So yeah, believe in Him, trust in Him, and listen to testimonies. Testimonies is what really did it for me, hearing how He worked in other people's lives. And don't be jealous of other people's blessings. Thank God for their blessings, and He will bless you as well, uniquely.
Wow, I love that. One of my greatest mentors is the late C.S. Lewis.
Ooh,
A lot of people know him from the Tales and Chronicles of Narnia.
yes.
And C.S. Lewis talked about um, in coming to Christ, uh, you are going to have distractions. And so he wrote a book on it called The Screw Tape Letters, where Screw Tape, a demon, was writing to his nephew, Wormwood, who was assigned to this one man,
Mhm.
guy named Christian, I think. And no, maybe that was Paul Bunyan. I'm not sure. But anyway, on how to waylay a Christian, it's with distractions.
Mhm.
Not just bad distractions, like sometimes, if you would be a Christian, you wouldn't be doing that. You're not a Christian at all. I get that all the time because I'm a conservative and a constitutionalist. And in fact, a lot of people watching this now probably thought they were going to get a dose of the Constitution rather than a dose of a wonderful young man I love. What, before we close here,
Mhm.
what advice, in case we have any young men, white, black, Oriental, I don't care what they are. Everybody's the same. I discovered in all my world travels that everybody is basically the same,
Yes.
and we're
Yes.
all created in the image of God. So, what advice would you have for young people who are struggling? Because you went through that. You weren't raised in an easy manner, and so they're struggling like you were. What would you say to them?
Don't let the odds defy you, defy the odds. That's what I would tell people. Don't let single parent home, drug addiction, any addiction, don't let it deter you because it's all a state of mind and follow Christ. It's easy for me to say that because I'm on this side of Christ now. I believe in Him now. But if you believe in the world, you're always going to be disappointed. You're always going to have failures. You're always going to be looking for somebody to depend on. God is always there for you. He's never going to leave your side. Even when you leave His, He's still going to be there. And trust in His process. It could be Him teaching you patience. It could be teaching you a lot of things. But whatever He's teaching you, go through the process. Don't give up on Him because He'll never give up on you.
You just hit a synapse in my brain right there. I left the rock tour when my best friend hanged himself. And it rocked my world so bad because the world was telling us that if you have girls, cars, records, popularity, crowds, adulation, you'd be happy.
Mhm.
That's the world's message. You'll
Yes.
be happy. And Rick hanged himself. I cried over him for 2 years, and I'm almost crying now. And it wasn't just crying over him, it was crying over the lie that the world tells people. And I think a lot of people out there are believing the lie, and it's really tragic. And another thing I don't see you doing a lot when you're in your spare time, and that is looking into their little devices there. Their world isn't this. It's a little world of TikTok and
Oh yeah,
Facebook and all that kind of stuff. And it's like the gates of hell
very much
are
so.
right through that little thing there. And it's not just you're looking into it, it's coming after you. The other day I was with some kids that I enjoy playing with, and one 12-year-old girl likes to play with them, and she's right in between womanhood and childhood, and she doesn't quite know where she is. But I said to the one little boy, I said, "Your sister's 12. Why doesn't she ever join us?" He said, "She's at home sitting in her room doing TikTok." I said, "Instead of out here in the woods and the trees and the swings and the deer and all that kind of stuff when she could be enjoying this," he said, "She likes TikTok." And it grieved me to hear that, because it's not only dangerous, it's going to cripple her.
Oh
And
yeah.
so I just hope kids can get away from that as well and make their world the whole thing rather
Yes.
than that tiny little thing that's out to get them. Well, Rodney Whittler, my good friend,
Yes, sir.
my half black son. You said there were different colors. I assure you, you're not the color of the people I work with in Africa. I mean, they just really look pure. And I think there were just too many white men in your background.
Most
but,
definitely. Most
but anyway,
definitely.
you still got the accent, Rodney, and you're just an absolute delight. And
Thank you,
I
George. I
hope
love you,
that
George.
during the course of the rest of my life, and I'm almost 80, so I don't know how much I got left, but I hope it includes you. And I want people to reach out to Rodney if they've got something to sell on eBay. What is it again? How do they find you?
If you're on the Nextdoor app, you can find me as Rodney Whittler. Last name is spelled Whittler. And also my phone number is area code 804-356-9926. And if all else fails, just get in touch with George. He knows how to get in touch with me.
Yeah, just go to twithgeorge.com and you can email me through there, and you can listen to this. You can share this with your friends, and maybe they need a pick me upper, and Rodney's the perfect pick me upper. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. May God bless your day.
Amen.